never smoke the dizzy, but we can always share some ditties. It's just a cup in time. This song doesn't have to rhyme. Life's all of us, not every moment we can be feeling fine. I wanna share a moment, just a second if you will, maybe even a cup of thrill. We could share this performance. It's tea time, come sit with me.
Well, welcome everybody. Miss Liz in the house. That's right. And I have the incredible Rob Thomas in the house. And tonight we're going to be talking about wordless connections. So you know what it's going to be. It's going to be a good, strong cup of tea. But before we get started, we're going to get everybody over to all those platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, all those podcast apps. Give those a like, follow, and subscribe, and get these tea times out there because they do make a difference for the guest and for somebody who resonates with the topics that we bring to the table all the time at Tea Time with Miss Liz. So let's get started with disclaimer and then a beautiful intro, and then we're going to get Robin here and we're going to spill some tea. And in the intro, you'll see the tea that we are serving tonight because Miss Liz just likes to twist it up a little bit once in a while and keep you guys on your toes. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz's Tea Time is a global platform dedicating to sharing real life stories, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations that inspire awareness, healing, and connection. Miss Liz is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment during the live broadcast, please grant StreamYard permission to display your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that all the content brought forward during any Tea Time show is presented in good faith. However, discussions may include opinions, beliefs, and perspectives that do not necessarily represent the views of Miss Liz or the Tea Time platform. Information shared by guests is based on their own experience and is perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All guests, viewers, and participants are responsible for using their gut action, their judgment when considering any action or decision that may relate to these discussions. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics, including but not limited to trauma, abuse, grief, mental health, and other emotionally triggering subjects. Listeners and viewers' discretion is strongly advised. Tea Time with Miss Liz is an open discussion forum designed to offer insight, inspire awareness, and create connection. It is not a substitute for professional, medical, legal, or therapeutical advice. If you require professional support, please seek assistance from qualified professionals or trusted resources in your area. If you have any questions regarding this disclaimer or the content of the discussion, you are welcome to contact me, aka Miss Liz, directly at my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com or visit my link tree at Miss Liz's Tea Time. By choosing to participate in, comment on, or view these live shows, you acknowledge and accept this disclaimer. Your participation is entirely voluntary. Miss Liz welcomes you to join the conversation with an open heart, and if at any time you feel this platform is not right for you, I respect your wishes and decision and welcome you back whenever you are ready. Tea Time with Miss Liz is serving truth and awareness one cup at a time. Well, welcome back to Tea Time with Miss Liz, where we don't just talk about connection, we experience it. Tonight's guest brings us something different, something simple, yet deeply powerful. Please join me in welcoming Rob Thomas, author of Wordless Connection, Deepened Intimacy Without Saying a Word, joining us from Phoenix, originally from Seattle. Rob is a global business consultant who has spent over 20 years helping companies get unstuck, getting through noise, simplifying complexity, and finding what truly works. And one day he realized something. What if the same approach could save a relationship? When his own marriage began to drift, Rob noticed that every word he spoke seemed to create more distance instead of connection. So he did something unexpected. He stopped talking and started showing love instead. Through intentional, nonverbal acts, eye contact, touch, presence, simple gestures, he rebuilt connection in a way words could never could. His tea reflects his purpose, touching hearts, embracing the unspoken, and experiencing rekindle connection. So grab your cup and lean in because tonight's tea time may just change how you connect, not through what you say, but through what you do. So let me get Robin here and let's spill some tea together.
Hey.
Welcome, Rob.
How are you?
I am good. And yourself?
I'm good. I'm excited to chat with you.
Well, Rob, let's start off with who was Rob as a little guy and who's Rob now?
Well, actually, as a little kid, I was kind of an explorer, adventurer. We lived kind of on the edge of town, allowed me to kind of spend time looking for things out. Uh, you know, we lived near a forest and also in areas where my friends and I were able to build forts and so forth. So, uh, and there were a couple of times where got into mischief, and I feel fortunate that sometimes I made it out alive and also didn't burn the forest down. So uh, anyway, uh, I enjoyed growing up. Was involved in sports in my neighborhood, friends, and so that's how I spent.
And who are you today, Rob? You still that
Well,
adventurer?
maybe I'm still that adventurer. Maybe I'm that discoverer. I don't think I ever have lost that. I am still involved in being very active. I I do road biking. I snow ski. I also lift weights. I like to stay healthy, and part of that is not only to be in shape, but I'd like to uh, make all the time that I live here on the planet as healthy as possible so I can enjoy it. So I think I have maybe a lot of those traits, and I think this is a good question just because I think maybe we're more like ourselves as a child than we necessarily remember. So I still have a lot of energy that and that focus and I'm a bit of an optimist, and so I think I was that way child. Even on a rainy day, I enjoyed those rainy days. So I'm still kind of that way today.
Well, I like that the little boy came out with the big boy tonight because that's how I like to bring everybody into tea time, right? See the connection, and that's what we're talking about tonight is wordless connection. So I wanted to see if there was a connection there, and there is a connection, and you noticed it as well. So, Rob, what got you into the wordless connection?
Well, part of this. I think that whenever we do anything, in particular, if we're looking to try and solve a puzzle, we tend to look back on our life and we tend to pull together a lot of things that informed us along the way. And so, as I went through college and I did different things, I was learning a lot about how to communicate as well, not only in a spoken way, but also in a nonverbal way. And so I kind of captured a lot of thoughts and I found that a lot of the work that I do is in patients, in coaching people, working one-on-one. And so really being able to pay attention to how I communicated was important. Anyway, as time went by, I I think anyone's been in a long-term relationship, whether they're married or not, you have ups and downs, and you have moments that are really good, and maybe some moments that are less than positive. And you can be really upset or maybe frustrated with your partner. And I'd gone through some of that with my wife, but in this particular situation, I had found that uh, uh, things were the kind of the process that I was experiencing, I wasn't enjoying. Maybe it had gone on a little bit longer than maybe previously, and I wanted to do something different. As I talked to her, I was trying to see if I could find the right words. I'd read a lot of books, um, talked to some life coaches, and no matter what I did, I either was saying the wrong thing at the wrong time or maybe the wrong thing at the right time. Either way, this wasn't working. And so I felt like I needed to do something different. Anyway, in my consulting work, I have found that sometimes, even when you're following the plan that both you and your client have agreed to, and you're moving in that direction, sometimes things get stuck. And I found that there were times in my work that if I got things stuck, and even though I was following the map that had worked previously and that the customer had wanted, still things were not, we weren't really getting traction. So what I would do at those points is that I would kind of make a list of what we were doing and what's the opposite of that? And so I wanted to change the conversation in those situations. And so I thought, what can I do that would be the opposite of this focus on trying to say the right thing at the right time. And this led me to this idea of trying to focus on being silent. Not silent all the time, but what could I do to maybe be different, or how could I maybe communicate this in a way that was meaningful without uh, saying anything? So in this way, being wordless. And I kind of thought about this, and I kind of came up with an initial strategy that I hoped that would work. And that was kind of the beginning of this path of me moving into this wordless connection journey.
Well, Rob, we have a question that came in from Kelly Grant, and it's, wow, this is an amazing, such a powerful topic. Can connection really grow without words?
Well, the thing that is interesting and very amazing is that the answer to that is yes. And to go back, first of all, just looking at how humans like to engage and uh, how they like to live, is that originally 300,000 years ago, as humans were kind of getting going, they organized in groups, and these groups were kind of a certain size, up to say 150 people, but sometimes they were smaller. And I think part of this was for protection, but also to make hunting maybe a little easier. I also think over time they had families, and they had family groups, and they needed that help to go through this process. Now, the thing that was interesting is that even though this started uh, 300,000 years ago and went on for a long time, we did not develop the ability to speak until 50,000 years. And so for about 250,000 years, we engaged, we had families, we lived in social groups, we did all this stuff and survived, and we did it without speaking. And so
Wow.
our and our beings had to develop kind of a library of ability to be able to communicate what was important to us without any words. And so even today, you can go to any culture, do not need language, because everybody understands what a smile is. Everybody understands what a hug is. You don't need to explain it. Everybody knows that. Eye contact when you're trying to connect, people know that the world over. A kiss as well. So this whole library of connective ability that is with us, it is born with us. This is within. And this is a step further, that no matter when we're doing it, we can feel to our partner. Now, one other thing, I'll add this in, and then you can talk over talking here. But one of the things that is interesting, and this kind of gets back to part of the research I did on myself, as well as I did some national research and with couples across the United States. I also did some other reading, is that uh, one of the things I talk about in my book, I talk about 5 experiments that I encourage couples to try. And this is a way to engage with a partner wordlessly and not just communicate, but to connect. And one of the things that I discovered on my own, as well as in this other research, is that when you hug someone for 5 seconds or more, our body recognizes that a hug is going on. And after the 5 seconds, we kind of pass this neurochemical threshold, and our body endorphins, dopamine and serotonin and oxytocin, and these are all chemicals that, when they're released within us, do a couple of things. One, it makes us feel better. I mean, we feel good, and so this really is the heart of the answer to the person who asked that question. Is it, can we connect? Yes, we can, because when we do a 5-second hug, no words before, during, or after, as we do that 5-second hug, our body and the hugee also have this, and our body does this again because we developed this whole process before there were words, so that we feel connected to the person that we have made this decision to hug. And we feel better, they feel better. But one of the things that's interesting about this kind of cocktail of medication that the body releases is that we not only feel good, but we feel safe. And so this is often one of the reasons when we have a longer term relationship, we do it for romance. We do it because we love them. But ultimately, one of the big attractions for people that we are in a long-term relationship with is because we feel safe. And so our body during this moment is not only helping us feel safe, but reminding us of why we started the relationship in the first place.
Well, Rob, in some of the research I've done, I heard about the 15-second hug, because within 15 seconds, the body connects, like what you're saying with the 5-second hug, right? So with that, do you find that relationships break down because we don't no longer connect through hugging? Because some relationships get comfortable, they get settled, and then they don't hug anymore. They don't hold hands anymore. They don't kiss anymore.
Yeah, I say yes to all that. Part of what happens is that in life, and anybody listening, everybody's got a bunch of things that just are whirling around us, and this is just part of living life on the planet. We've got maybe we've got kids that we're trying to raise, or maybe we've got a new job, or maybe we're just getting married, maybe trying to buy a house, or we're trying to move. We've got a family member who's got a health crisis. We all have probably about 4 of those things going on at any one moment, and we are navigating this with our partner. And because they often take so much energy and so much mind space, we often think either to ourselves or even out loud to our partner, hey, we'll catch up this weekend, or we'll catch up tonight, or let's take a vacation this spring so that we can have some alone time. And maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't, but we really are not spending time reminding ourselves of why we enjoy each other. And sometimes, particularly when we've got kids that we're raising, those times that we really connect can become very far and few between. So this is where it isn't so much the hugging, it's that we do need to hug, and we do need to do this wordless connecting, but we need to do it 2 or 3 times a day. Fun thing is, and again, the body is being efficient. It knows that we're busy. So it's not saying we have to do this for 5 hours or 5 minutes. We're just doing it for 5 seconds. And so we do 4 times during the day. And really, I'll tell you from my own experience and the people that I've interacted with across the United States who've tried these 5 experiments, 5 seconds, 2 or 3 times a day really is an amazing adventure to have with your partner. So yeah, you can do it wordlessly, and you can do it in just a short period, but really it's something that needs to be done daily.
Well, we have a question that just came into the studio, and it's from Adventure Shows. How do you rebuild trust without talking much?
Well, I think part of this, just gets back to the idea that, first of all, our body has got a big investment in our own success, perpetuating these, going on, having a successful family. So, body is really invested in. And so it's paying attention that when we are participating with our partner, it wants us to know that this is not just communication, but connection. And so when as you read the book, you'll kind of get this kind of process that I went through, and it was kind of a slow reveal for me. But as you look at the 5 experiments, you do those things, they're really kind of they're apolitical. I mean, you're not bringing up trust, you're not talking about trust, you're not trying to avoid trust, you're just showing a level of not communication. This issue with trust, sometimes you have to do other things than this, but essentially as you do this will remind your partner why they chose you in the first place. One of the things that we came up again and again, I had these people across the country try the 5 experiments and keep journals, and they sent those journals to me. One of the things that came up again, and I wasn't telling them what to pay attention to. In fact, I was wondering what to pay attention. how would this strike? One of the things that they came up with again and again is that as they do this, their partner, and again, at the beginning, don't tell your partner you're doing this. Do this quietly, because I I thought I am not, I didn't tell my partner, and I tell people, don't say anything, just go in, try it, just go in for a 5 second. You don't need to warn them, you don't need permission, just do it and they'll respond. And so as I did that, one of the things that as you do it a couple of times, some of the people mentioned, my wife didn't do this, but some people mentioned the first time they hugged their partner, because it had become so unusual outside of sexual intimacy that they hugged, that when they hugged, just in the middle of the day, fully clothed, it was, what are you doing? And that's what do you want, But once and I told them, if they ask that, just say, look, I'm just, and then stop. So they did that, might have had it a couple of times. But once their partner realized they were intentional, that their partner was being intentional about sharing this hug with them, and that the feelings they felt were not only real, but shared by their partner, what began to happen is that their partner, not knowing anything about wordless connection, would come in and, again, without warning, without permission, come in for, say, a 5 second hug. I found with my wife, after I did this for a little bit, she started coming up with things. Again, I didn't explain anything to her. She came up with wordless activities. Again, I thought it was interesting that they were wordless. I mean, she came up with stuff that I, first of all, loved. They were very meaningful to me, and we never discussed it. So I do think that this wordless connection, because the body is reinforcing it, with the endorphins and with the oxytocin and so forth, that becomes meaningful to us and our partner. And as we do this, silence, I have to, as you hug them, you can't say anything. It can be hard. That is hard. You think, oh no, I've got to explain myself. There's actually research that shows that when you are doing something, when your body language and your words line up, so I'm hugging them, but I'm also talking about hugging them. I pay attention to my words, and my partner pays attention to my words, and they are not paying attention to the hug or the chemicals being released. They're just paying attention to the words. It's really, the wordless connection needs to happen without speaking. And then it's more an impact. And as you read the book, I've got a bunch of these journal entries in the book that are so lovely. They're so, some of them make me cry. They are so, these people connect. And again, actually, one of the things I lost track of my thought, and I'm back to it. When they did this, and I'm focusing on hugging, it could have been one of the other 5 activities, but when they did the hugging, in that moment, they remembered. I mean, there was a memory that was sparked. They weren't planning on this, they weren't thinking about it, but there's a memory that was sparked where they remembered why they chose this person in the beginning. So this goes back to trust. Somebody said, can you build trust wordlessly? Well, you do this, the body is going to participate, help you engage and connect. Your partner is going to connect. And again, 5 seconds, don't explain yourself. Even afterwards, just let it be. And then do it again. Do it 2 or 3 times a day. And you might do some of the other things as well. And that is, over time, they will remember why they chose you. They will feel that connection. They will, and rebuilding trust may take time, but this is a good thing to do on the journey of rebuilding trust, is feeling why you connected in the first place.
And it doesn't cost anything. Just
you
5
man,
seconds.
It. I mean, gee, like this. You don't have to listen to a podcast. You're not reading a book. Whether you like to read books or not, you may love to read books, but this is there. You can just do it. And it's just, It's powerful.
Well, well, Rob, we have a question here for you. Is can silence really heal a broken relationship?
Well, again, I think this is very much similar to the last question about building trust, because often the relationship's broken because I think, again, one of the key things that we have long-term relationships is because we do. Now, I will say that as you do these 5-second activities, they're all about trust for those 5 seconds. And then one of the things that I've noticed in my own experience, as well as these other couples that I've worked with, is that just like anything, there's a bit of an afterglow. You hug them, you feel good, you step away, and maybe you just go back to whatever you were doing. And maybe you're cleaning out the garage or you're doing something else. You go and then this just, you're reminded, you think about it, and you can develop other traits or other uh, uh, kind of another process. For example, now with my wife, and again, we have never discussed this. We have not discussed what I'm about to do, and I don't know where this came from. But when we first did the 5-second hug, we pulled back and then immediately did a 5-second kiss. I don't know why. I mean, I unintentionally planned to do that, but we did. And since then, and we've been doing this for several years, this thing unfolded, is that we do that every time. 5-second hug, 5-second kiss, and that's what we do. And now one of the other things is that I sometimes work at home, I could be in my office, and if my wife crosses my mind, I stand up, I go find her wherever she is, and I give her a 5-second. So again, a lot of this is building new routines that maybe you did at one point that now you need to do again. And I will tell you, this is just from my own observation. I don't mention this really in the book, but we are like a planet and we have orbiting celestial bodies. We've got moons or other planets. We change our orbit and it changes the orbit around. It affects the orbit of everybody who's currently orbiting us. So if you intentionally go in and share this secure feeling, this loving feeling, without having to explain yourself, they're going to feel it and get it. And as you keep doing this, your presence will be different. You'll be in a different place, and then the orbiting planet around you, including your partner, will move. They just will. They'll move. And so this isn't an overnight deal, but you have to be intentional about it. In the book, I talk a lot about being intentional. And that's really where you're not just, this isn't about, oh, I'm got positive mental attitude. No, this is where you think in your heart, you think, and I want it to go out my fingertips. And as I touch my wife's shoulder, I want her to feel and experience the love I'm sending. That's intentional. So as you take those moments and I'm intentional, again, no words. This is just me sharing my physical being. And we not only have this ability, but the body's got electricity. We generate a little bit of electricity, enough to light a little light bulb. In science class, they can do that. Anyway, this is part of what goes on. So as we do this, and our hands, the molecules in our hands, a truth about all molecules is that they want to bond. And there's several different types of ways that they bond. This isn't just human molecules. This is like oxygen, hydrogen. That's how we get water, And so the molecules in our body, as we send out this intentional feeling and we're holding our partner or we're hugging them and like we're holding their hand skin to skin, our molecules in our hand are trying to connect in a bond with the molecules in our partner's hand. So this is all very much a lot of, we get the laws of physics working in our favor. And so I think that, no. And I anticipate breaking the and the broken relationship didn't happen in a minute. Okay, so repairing not going to be in a minute either. But I do believe this is part of the set. Is what will help you, uh, uh, build, and maybe going maybe part of it too. I don't know. It's really up to you. You are so much better off doing this 3, 4 times a day. Again, 5 seconds, 4 times, that's 20 seconds. I'm inviting you to spend 20 seconds with your partner, uh, and it will make a difference. Go ahead.
Well, Rob, we have a question here. Can this method work with long distance relationships too?
Yes, yes, and yes. Actually, one of the things, the five experiments, I talk a couple of them. And the thing is, I give 5 experiments. I think as I've talked to other people, come up with their own, or they get a kind of a mishmash of something I came up with in their own. So this is really just to get you started. And again, I'm calling it experiment. You experiment. Find out what you're doing. Yes, I added 2 to the 5 that are non-touching. I do know relationship touch less than others. Okay, so you can do this wordless connecting, touching, and as you go through it, it can be just as impactful. And because again, as we see this non-touching but still visible connection opportunity that is being extended to us, it touches our heart, and we feel seen. We feel like someone is reaching out to us. And so, again, I feel like there is power in being wordless. And again, I'm not saying being silent all the time. I'm just saying we tend to ignore the power of this opportunity of being wordless. So I could go more into that, but I'm trying to answer the question directly. Yes, you can do it long distance. You can do it short distance without touching. You can do it long distance without touching. So yeah, we can get more into that in a moment. But anyway,
we have another question that just came in for you, Rob, and it's from Kathy, and she says, "How do you know if your partner understands your actions?"
Well, I will tell you. Again, this goes back to one of the things I said earlier, is that you can go to any place on the planet. And I was just reading about they find some people who haven't really made connection with, society and stuff. I believe you go there and you'll see a couple hugging. I mean, I think these are natural. They're inborn. They are going to know exactly. And I will tell you, it isn't, you may think that they don't know. But again, the body is set up that after 5 seconds, the connection is going to release the dopamine, the serotonin, whether the person wants it or not. And this kind of thing, I go into the book. This really works in all relationships. I talk about one of the very first experiences I had as I was working with a couple doing hand massage, and I'm sitting there and talking them through it and so forth, and they're sitting next to each other. Anyway, one of the people said, as you say this, I'm going through this, and I kind of closed my eyes, and I had a memory of my mother, and they were children, and the mother used to stroke her hair. See, again, the body remembers. The body has got this stuff, and so it's not just that we get the serotonin release and the toxin release. It responds with a memory, and so we get this, and so no, they'll get it. They may not say it. I just talked to a woman earlier today. I was on a podcast, and she was talking about her husband, and they've been married a long time. Sounds like they've had a very nice relationship. But one of the things that she said that they just found out is that he's a highly functioning autistic person. Now, I think I know people who are highly functioning autistic people. So I think we all know somebody like that, and they kind of function, but
Yeah.
they're a little rigid around the edges. So anyway, So we talked a little bit in this podcast, and I brought up that I anticipate before he met you that he was feeling very, and he may have even felt like he didn't know what some of this stuff even felt like. And she then talked about that once they started dating, they held hands as they walked. And she said, you know what, we just hold hands all the time. And they've been married for several decades. They they hold hands all the time. So even people who seem like they don't get it. And again, a lot of it is, and the body releases these chemicals specifically as a reward. It wants connection. It for us to be successful in connection. And I reckon there can be people who are stubborn about it. So this is where we kind of think about it, we experiment, but I do believe that there are ways to connect with everyone.
A question that just came in from Dixon is, how long does it take to see results with this approach?
Well, my own experience and the people who kept these journals, I'd say maybe a day, two. I mean, it didn't take long. It just didn't take long. And I part of what's happened, and this is part of why this is valuable, is that we've just stopped doing something. Again, because we're fighting the dragon at the door, we're fighting the dragon on our roof, we're fighting the dragon that's in the middle of the street, and that's taking all of our attention. And so we keep thinking we're going to do something and we don't. And so we're not holding hands, we're not being together, we are not we're not kissing during the day in a meaningful way. And again, that with intention and for at least seconds, we're just not doing it. And so as soon as we start doing it, and as soon as the partner realizes that you're serious, that your intention, you're not trying to pull a fast one and just, get them to do something. I don't know. I don't know. Think of all the things we do for our partners is, mind numbing. Well, they may think it's one of those things. As soon as they dispel those worries and they realize you're being real, I think it just takes, I think it's one more 5-second moment after that. There was a story, and I share this. I share this. I've actually this a couple of times as people have been talking to me on podcasts. I got this in one of the journal entries. Is that this one wife was set a goal to do a hug 3 times, and it was the first day. And anyway, they had planned a dinner, and so they were both doing the dishes after the dinner. It sounds like something we all have done 100 times or 1,000. And anyway, they'd already hugged a couple of times earlier in the day. And anyway, so in her mind, she's thinking, I'm on this, I'm doing this experiment. I'm going to hug my husband. So anyway, so all she's doing is being intentional, wanting, and she's really not expecting anything back. All right. So she goes in and she gives him a hug, and they hug. And she wrote in her journal, she goes, I don't know exactly why or what it was about this, but after about, as we passed 5 seconds, he began to cry. And she explained, he never cries. I'm not certain I'd really even seen him cry. And it turns out that he'd been on, with his work, and he'd had some financial pressures, and he, was trying to figure it out, and he was under a lot of stress. And this, being held by his partner, and I can't help but think, him feeling safe because of this dopamine. He felt safe, and he felt held, and he felt nurtured, and probably just had a really great meal. So it was really nice. And he doesn't know what to do. And he hadn't been able to bring this up because, and we don't even hug. How can I tell her that I don't know what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Well, a door was open. And so I think that that's very interesting. I think that's a very interesting thing to consider. So
Well, Rob, we've got a couple questions. Some are similar, so I'm going to pop them up. There's two that I find that are similar here, so I just want to get that up here.
Please.
Um, the first one is, what if one partner isn't responsive to nonverbal affect? And then the second one is, can nonverbal communication replace deep conversations?
First of all, I want to just be really clear. I think deep conversations are important. I think talking about stuff is important. And I think often, again, my own personal experience, just like we don't hug, I tell you, we probably don't have enough deep conversations. So I think communicating verbally, saying things that matter, saying things you know that is important to them, reassuring them, uh, and believe me, what you may not think it's important, but you've been made very clear that this is important to them, so you do that. So I think you need to say things and mean them, and so I think conversations is important. I I think that I'm hearing this thing where they may not be responsive. Uh, one of the first wordless I did, I actually of my mom, my wife's back, and she she likes back massages, and she likes them so much. I've given to her a lot, and I don't ask permission. You know, this is often just as we're getting ready for bed, and it doesn't. I can tell you a lot of this time, it doesn't lead to anything. So this is really just I'm giving her a back massage because she likes it. And I will tell you that as I've done this over the years, sometimes I think it is so boring. It's so boring. You have no idea how boring it is. So I actually count. I like count to 400. Tried to get through it. 48, 40.
400 seconds of rubbing.
Yeah, you know, it's like self-dentistry. I mean, oh, when's this going to be over? Yeah, loving it, honey. I mean, you know, so, all right. So when I set out to do the wordless connection, and I describe this in my book, um, I I thought this would be a good approach. And so, and again, I kind of go through some of this, and I go through kind of a specific steps I went through and kind of why I did these things. So I'm going to just hit some highlights. So number one, this whole thing about as I got started, I knew that I wanted to send an intentional message of love through my hands. So I kind of envisioned uh, love in my heart for my wife, and I had that in my heart. And then I truly imagined this energy going through my arm into my fingers. And I was very firm and I was very slow in moving my hands. And then as I did this, I also closed my eyes and I kept this focus uh, and I kept doing this. And and so one of the things here is I was very intentional about this. I wanted this to be a good experience for her. I wasn't just trying to make this transactional. I wasn't just trying to get it over with. So I think making this intentional is important. And again, getting this molecule to molecule connection, I think also is important. Anyway, one of the things that I thought was so curious, in fact, I did some research on this and I talk about this in the book because I couldn't believe it, is that I closed my eyes and I was giving this back, very intentional, focused. Anyway, at some point I kind of felt like I'd reached an end and I looked at the clock and I realized about 15 minutes had gone by, which what? I couldn't believe it. 15 minutes, that's longer than counting 400. I mean, so how can that be? Anyway, closing your eyes, it isn't always the case, but really closing your eyes in a darkened room and you're not sleeping, your brain goes into a bit of a meditative state. And actually, I've got citations in the book, and I talk about closing your eyes, and it isn't sleep. And I kind of stumbled into that as I was going through this. And so as you close your eyes and you're being intentional, this becomes something that becomes very positive for your partner. And she turned over immediately and said, "This is the best back rub I think you've ever given me," which I thought, "You're going to give a raise for personal effort. I'm going to get one." Anyway, I said nothing. I was just happy to,
She
live.
was happy, you were happy.
That's right. So um, I think there has to be some intention to it. And then again, do this, the body, both bodies, mine and your partner's, wants this. They recognize something's going on, antenna up, let's release the oxytocin, and you move forward with that. So I don't know. How do you
we
stay
have we have a question that just came in from Banter Show, and it says, how do you stay consistent with intentional actions daily? And I think that's kind of what you kind of just shared with us, not counting those 400 seconds.
I wonder what. So I think a lot of it is you have to decide what's important to you and that your relationship is important. And when it's important, you start having these. The other thing is, this doesn't take an hour. This does not take it. You don't have to get in the car and drive to a therapist's office to have this experience. You can go in and have it in a moment. So first of all, there's shorthand to this. It's the Cliff Notes. When you can go in and have this experience, and again, have it intentionally, and you're showing and sharing that this is important. And then they'll respond. They want this. And we sometimes forget, yes, they did choose you. We sometimes think, oh, they don't like me, or whatever. No, really, they did choose you. And there's somewhere in their memory why they chose them. And again, these the chemicals that are released by the body, part of it is to help you remember why you did that. And so this is all very positive. And again, short and to the point, be intentional. It's a winning hand.
Well, Rob, I just want to pull up the book really quick so everybody can see what book we're talking about tonight. So if everybody would like to go and grab a copy. The book is called Wordless Connection, Deepen Intimacy Without Saying a Word, Even If You're Married. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the book and where people can get all the books and that? And then we have a question about eye contact that I'd like to get out to you.
Oh, yeah. I have to say about it. Anyway, I'm going to hold up the book. So this is my holding up the book, too. So you can get it on the book. I'm just going to mention Wordless Connection, all human relationships. I've got stories about an experience where an aunt was holding her nephew's hand. He was 12 and felt because he was a little homesick for his parents. And so we kind of go through that story. And so a lot of times you can connect him with family members. I have a story about somebody I met at work, and just shaking their hand, I felt like I felt like a better person. And I tried to figure that out. I think it's kind of a funny story. But so really, this wordless connection can happen really with anyone. And I'm focusing particularly on couples because it's an important. I just came across some research that said that 50%, 57% of all couples feel that they can't remember why they chose each other. So this is, if you're feeling that, you're not alone. You're not alone. So, and some of the people, they can't remember, but they don't care. That was actually, believe it or not, another segment. So the 50s people who cared and they couldn't remember. So this is important, and the wordless connection can help you do that.
Well, and here's a question about the eye contact. Is eye contact really that impactful in reconnecting?
Eye contact can be very helpful. It's not the only tool in your toolbox. If for some reason that is awkward to you or so forth, you don't need. But I will tell you, and this is so, but I'm just highlighting eye contact, and I'm not recommending you do what I'm about to say, but it is interesting to show the power of eye contact. And whenever I bring up eye contact on podcast, windows, they always say, oh, it's the window to the soul. Well, I think that is. New York Times, you can put in, I think it's 32, you can just put into Google, New York Times, 32 questions, 4-minute icon. And it will bring up this article that I found it, and it gives you a bunch of questions that you can back and forth. But what the researcher did is that they had these questions to help people kind of get acquainted with each other. And what they, first of all, what they did is they got two strangers of who were dating compatible. So, whatever that means, age appropriate, orientation appropriate, whatever. They got two strangers, people who had not met, who were dating compatible, had them go through these questions. And then they had them sit for 4 minutes and not say anything and just stare into each other's eyes. And the thing that was interesting is not only did many of these people develop a relationship, they got married. In fact, they got married. That made me go, I actually went and looked up the original research because I couldn't believe it. And the thing that was hilarious is the doctor who originally came up with it wound up doing this with one of these strangers, and he married them. So this idea about eye contact, again, the body's all about it. Eye contact matters. You can do it without it. And I even talk about that you can do a lot of it even without touching. But I think you can find ways that you can touch. I think if you can use the eyes, it's a benefit. Again, it gives the body another opportunity to connect and to be meaningful. Help share your intentionality. And you can practice this, so and you can find your own ways. And again, I start with 5 experiments. I encourage people to try their other experiments and keep trying. And you'll find things that work for you and your partner.
So we have a question that just came in. Rob, what are the 5 experiences, if you could just quickly shoot them off?
Sure. 5 experiences, 5 experiments. Again, I don't want people to feel tied down. I mean, and you feel like you want to try it a little different. Again, like my wife and I, hug and kiss. Are we crazy? What are we doing? So it's a 5-second hug, comma, 5-second kiss. So those are 2, and they can massage, notes of care, and then spontaneous act of service. And the notes of care are really, really simple. These are not, they are as basic as, maybe passing a note in elementary school. It is that flavor. I like you. I mean, it is really simple. Or congratulations that on something, or it can be hopefully an inside joke between you two. And it's that type of thing. I've had people write these notes and leave it in a work bag. I've had people put them up in a shower before their partner goes in for a shower. I was talking to a business colleague about this a few years ago as I was working on this, and I was beginning to work on the book. I told him about this, and his comment was, "Oh, hey, my wife just gave me one of those notes. I'd have give her one back." This guy's middle name was Einstein. Anyway, he thought, oh, wouldn't I should give her one. So anyway, he told me later what happened. He said, what I decided to do is, and he said, I got sticky notes. I made 15 notes, and I just put them, I hid them all over. She had a home office, several in kitchen cabinets, and different places all over. But the thing that and highlights the value of this type of thing is that his wife thoroughly enjoyed finding them, reading them. But he said, the thing I just never expected is that she left. Is that every time she opened the cupboard, she wanted to see this note from him. And so I think these notes of care, the care and concern, they're not times to apologize, to legislate anything, to mea culpa. That's a different time. Could be a letter, could be something else. But these notes of care are really intentional moments where where you share something meaningful. This is something I actually really like. I like these notes of care. And my wife has written a haiku. I love haiku. That I thought was very clever. She's found different snippets from a poem that she's included. And I've saved all these. I love that she did these. So I encourage people. So that's one thing. The other that I haven't talked about is the spontaneous act of service. Is it, I think most people want to help a partner, and they often do it by saying, how can I help? Or, or whatever. I feel I'm going to say something that I think men are not very good at, and I can say this because I'm a man. I find that when they go in and with their partner, they see that something done, and they don't want to do the wrong thing. So they go out, how can I help? And they're very sincere. They want to help. But really, from the person who's being asked to tell them, and this really goes not just in couples, this goes with anybody. Anytime somebody asks you if you need help, our first response is no. Fine. Why do you think I need help? It's because of the knife in my hand. Joking. They look a little nutty. That's why we're asking if they need help. And so they don't accept it. And so often in the moments we truly need help, we either say we're fine, or if they truly want to give you something, one of the things that we miss is that if they're kind of in charge of this activity, they now not only might have to explain this to you, but they then have to manage you. So all of a sudden, you doing this task, which you want to help with, all of a sudden becomes an extra burden for them. You've just added a task on top of everything else. As much as you're going to help with this one thing, they now have to manage you. And then on top of that, you have to tell them when they're done, and then you have to tell them good job. And I mean, again, this is why it's spontaneous, and you just do it, and you're not looking for feedback. You give them some, and you may guess and guess wrong. Fine, guess and guess wrong. I will tell you something I do. I like chocolate. In fact, I like, for the United States, this moment, I like See's chocolates. And so I really like them a lot. And so what I do, I know someone's recuperating or they're in a bad spot, I'll go take them a box of See's chocolates. And as I hand it to them, I say, I know you didn't ask for this. I hope you like chocolate. I give people something I really like. So I give this to you, and I hope this helps you. And I have never had anyone turn it down. And I had them all come back and tell me what a great thought. And that's not what I'm looking for. What I'm really looking for is to help them know that I care, and that they're not alone, and that I'm with them. And that's what the spontaneous act of service. So
Rob, what's your final message for everybody tonight?
Is this ability to manufacture care, love, and manufacture the ability to connect with our partner in a moment. We have that abundance. We walk around with it. We can do it any moment. And I think that's it's a gift from the universe. It's something we can do and others can do with us. And so that is my message.
Well, thank you so much. I want to really thank you, Rob, for joining me tonight on Teatime and sharing about your book and all the incredible work and services that you do. I'm just going to do a quick wrap up of what tonight's Teatime was, and I will see everybody on Thursday with 2 new Teatimes. And I want to thank Rob for closing up March and all the incredible guests that we've had. If you want to see all of those guests, you guys can check out Miss Liz's Teatimes on my YouTube channel or all podcast apps out there. Miss Liz is all over it. If you're not looking, you ain't going to find me. So, Rob, thank you for what a powerful and eye-opening conversation. Rob, thank you for reminding us that love is not proven through perfect words. It is felt through consistency, intentional actions. You've shown us that connection is not something we talk into existence. It's something we build through presence. Tonight, we were reminded that our relationships are like a garden. They do not grow because we explain them. They grow because we tend to them. Sometimes we get to focus on saying the right thing. We forget to be the right presence. Here is something to carry with you after this tea time. If words have been getting in the way, what might change if you simply show love instead? To everyone listening, try something different. Hold a hand a little longer, make eye contact without distraction, and offer a moment of care with no expectation in return. Because sometimes the deepest connection is built in silence. Until our next cup share, keep choosing intentions, keep choosing presence, and keep loving in ways that can be felt, not just heard. And I'll see everybody on Thursday, and we'll start this all over again.